Well, hey, welcome to Lewis Brothers 309 podcast. I'm Joel.
Travis.
What
And
first thing I'd like to bring up here is May 11th, 2026, and today is your sober birthday.
it is 4 years today.
4 years, clap. Good job. 4 years. This isn't a golf clap, but it's a golf clap if you like golf claps.
Yes.
I just kind of wanted to take a few minutes here and let you kind of do some mental cleansing and spew out how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, it is a little mixed bag of feelings because I made a post earlier today. It was kind of, or it's early in the day and it was fresh. I had the dopamine flowing because got off the treadmill and I thought, I actually forgot and up until about a week ago, because around 2 years, I have an app on my phone, of course, and just looking down and seeing the name, I got to that point where I wasn't really counting days now, but it's counting days. And then there's also a calculator in there too, showing you how much money you technically haven't saved, like haven't used poisoning yourself. So that's a little mind blowing, but it's
And
been
then
a
you're
mix.
talking, it's like, where's all this money in my pocket? It's
Yeah,
like,
right.
it's like, oh, well, there's no money, no extra money in my pockets. Where to go? Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. No, it's like I saved this money, but also, I mean, I could have been dead too, right? So it was $90,000 is the number.
Well, that's a number.
That's a number. But I mean, that was just probably, man, humbly, I was kind of on the low end because I put in $400 a week. Now you figure that up, might be a little high, might be a little low some weeks, but really averaging it out, it was insane. I mean, and I was only drinking three nights a week, right? That was part of it. But they were 4 in a row, maybe. So you add in like the shitty food and all the booze and just the shit you buy on Amazon while you're drunk. Side note, one time I was drunk and I bought the Esteban guitar, and that's what led me to learn how to play guitar. So there's some good stuff.
Learn guitar too.
It's 2 a.m. I'm like, I have a credit card that has $800 on it, and this is $500, and I could learn to play guitar like Esteban.
Did you get a guitar too, though?
Oh, yeah. I was blacked out when I ordered it. It showed up 2 weeks later on my doorstep. I was like, oh, shit. I ordered that guitar. I guess this was when I was in Rockford. I was like, I guess I better learn how to play it. And then I still didn't learn how to play it. It was about a year later. That's when I got with, the other member of Fly By Night, and we started banging out songs. But no, to answer your original question, we've been known to go on some sidetracks, folks. Mixed bag. I remember thinking there was no way in hell I would ever make it 4 years. But I feel like something this past week really just kind of clicked for me. A lot of growing up, I think of Saturday, I was walking the dogs. So I would tell anybody listening to this, if you're going through early times of trying to get sober, exercise helps. If you do that, hell, just going for a walk out in nature has helped me, which it sounds like the most cliche thing in the world, but my gosh, when you get out there and you realize there's other things going on and the world doesn't stop, it's pretty cool. It makes you realize, puts things in perspective. But last point is just, I've gotten a lot of texts today, which has been cool, from people that I haven't heard from in a long time, telling me how proud they are of me. And so that's been cool. And then I've also gotten some people that have asked for some help. So that, I think I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to help, other than, obviously listening and telling them we understand. But and that's something we'll get into later. But I think initially it's been a mixed bag of emotions, but I'm actually can say I'm proud of myself. I mean, it's 4 years and it was this 4 years continuous. I started out, I had 9 months, so I had as much as to make a baby, a human. And then I went back out and thought I could handle it. And I got drunk for about 6 months in a row. And then that was kind of the story I alluded to on Facebook, was waking up on our brother's unfinished. He was in the middle of remodeling his house, and There was not a lick of anything around. There was like a refrigerator plugged in with an extension cord. And I mean, I was sleeping on a cot and I don't remember anything. Scared the,
Woke up at 86.
yeah. So,
Did you hear what I said?
no,
Here,
what's
wait,
that?
I
What'd you
said you
say?
thought you woke up at 6?
Yeah, right. Right. I was like, holy shit, what happened here? All I knew was my wife was mad at me, of course. My brother was really mad and I didn't know why. And I figured, I mean, I scared our niece and I had no recollection of it. And that was like, that was for me, what I was alluding to in my Facebook post was like, you think rock bottom is jail or living in a gutter. And for me, I could have easily chalked it up to, hey, I'll do better next week. I won't, I won't golf next week. And it was just when we finally got a hold of each other later on that day, because of course he's the type of guy I mean, he can go out and drink and he gets up and goes to work regardless. I mean, he's just built that way. Uh, I was a pile of dog shit. And he finally got a hold of me. He's like, listen, dude, I mean, you reminded me of mom is one of the things he said. And you scared the living shit out of your niece. And I was like, oh, I was just heartbroken. And that was it. I said, okay, time to take what I learned. Cause you know how rehab is. And I don't want this all to be about me, but you know how that it is like they give you all this information and to digest it along with getting sober and you feel it like it's hard to digest it all in the amount of time they give you, right? So, but I could say I'm very grateful. And one of the cliches is I didn't drink today. So,
Well, just to kind of touch on what you were saying, when you count, counting your time is one of those things. Is like, one of my hangups with going to meetings or whatever was, you got a 1 month chip and a 6 month chip and a whatever the chip process is. Which if it works for you, great for you. But I couldn't like I don't know if what I'm about to say had made the air or one of our issues before, but it was always going into these meetings was you had, there was always the group of people that were there because they were court ordered to be there. They're not there for the reasons that I was there. They're the ones that are there because that's now their thing, right? That's their, I don't want to use it as a, not a crutch, but that's their, that's their support group. That's their system. I don't really know the people there. So I'm just kind of just feeling around. Then you got the ones that, there was a guy in one of the meetings said he was 47 years sober and he was still going to these meetings. And to me, that was like, at the time I'm a couple months sober and I'm just like, you're telling me that I got to fucking do this shit I got to do this forever. You want to talk about pressing. And this is down when, those meetings were down there in downtown, like and I'm sure you never went to those, but it's just kind of a dingy hall. And,
yeah,
and they're not all like that, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it just wasn't for me, and there was always a group of people that were just looking for the next reason to fall off the wagon or for lack of a better term, and I may not be a textbook way to do it, but you just have to not do, just like you said, like I'm not drinking today. I don't even think about it. Like
right.
on autopilot, that way it's not an issue.
It's almost,
I
yeah.
don't go ahead.
I I'm really leaning into this, whether it's rebuilding your identity. I think it's rebuilding your identity, right? Like, because you were somebody before you started drinking, you were somebody while you were drinking, and then you were somebody when you were sober while you were drinking, if that makes sense. And it's like, I never, for me personally, was like, huh, I'm learning. It's like a whole new experience about different shit that I like. Like I'm learning, like Lennox is he's learning French on this Duolingo app. And I'm like, this is pretty awesome. Like, so there's a lot of, just like guitar or art or whatever that is. Like we grew up as sports kids and perfectly wouldn't trade it for the world. And that's what we grew up because we were 80s kids and you guys, that was the easiest babysitter there was. Go outside and play wiffle ball or go to the gym and play basketball. So, which thank God you guys drugged me along because it turned into a college education and I wouldn't be anywhere without it. So,
It took me a long time to come to the grips that I always wanted to be an athlete, and I always considered myself an athlete just because I played sports or played athletics or did athletics or competed or whatever. But it took a long time for me to look at myself in the mirror, like, bro, you're not an athlete. It's just the way it is, man. You got you got a lot of coolie in you, bro. You gotta understand that there's why sometimes you just fall down and don't know why the hell you fell down. You're a little clumsy, whatever. But so I'm glad you brought that up, is because a lot of what made us what we are is where we grew up, right? And so, not necessarily, this is not, I'm going to paint a picture and I'm not going to paint it in a negative light because of it just kind of shines the way it shines here, right? I'm not saying that the people in these communities are bad in any way, shape, or form, just as a disclaimer. When you come from where we come from, and it's not just where we come from, it's not just small town, it's not just Midwest, it's not just Illinois, it's everywhere. There's just different versions of the same thing where a whatever it is, when we grew up, drinking was it was celebrated, right? I mean, a lot of the memories I have as a kid were cookouts and after like dad playing baseball or softball. Those are good memories for me. Those were when you saw the real those you saw the real personality of, like, for me, dad, right? But
right.
like, it was always a distant type of personality, but when he got around his friends and they were drinking or having fun or whatever, and I just watched that was the side of dad I never saw, right? Which I assume a lot of kids are the same way. They don't see the guy version of what their dads are, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
wow, that's fucking pretty cool. It makes you want to kind of be like that, whether it's because he's a genius engineer, works for NASA, or if he's a fucking softball player that freaking can turn a double play. I don't know. One of those things where, because of where we came from and what we saw, it was not only tolerated but celebrated. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And
Yeah.
I think that not only affects us, I'm not saying it affects you in a negative way. It turns out it became a negative thing, but it not only affects us, but it affects everyone that comes through. If you looked at the people, their lineage or whatever, and I'm going on and on, but you understand what I'm saying?
I do. And I think you hit on a good point of that was something because I'm glad you brought that up because, I didn't know dad other than dad. And I don't want to say positive or negative. There really was nothing like it, that's the thing, right? It wasn't like I knew mom, of course, because I was around her and I was all the time. And she would be the fun mom. She would like we talked last week, her birthday and her Mother's Day. And it's like, I remember her and I, right when VH1, VH1's playing hits and this new Michael Jackson movie's coming out and she loved Michael, and I remember those great times of like, oh, wow. Like she was a lot of fun. And we would dance and sing, which you probably got a version of that way earlier than I did before the damage of anything. But as far as what goes with our dad, it's like loved him to death, but he was always like I saw him when growing up when I was in trouble, which was terrifying. But I thought it was the coolest thing too to hear his stories of like what him and his buddies did in high school and college and then part of the reason I loved basketball was because I got to go spend time with you guys and dad on Wednesday nights. And so I just wanted to be there the whole time. I didn't care if I played or but you're right, it's whether you're whether you're like you said, it doesn't matter, because your kids don't know, right? Your kids don't know what type of job you do. You're their dad. You are their first superhero they ever know, and it's like, ooh. And I think that's part of some of for me at least, the hard. I kind of knew that, and I was trying to numb that. I wasn't ready for that, you know.
Yeah, that's it's funny. one of the things that stands like really stands. There's two things here that you made me think of right now. One was when it was probably '85 is when the Cardinals were playing the Dodgers in the NLCS, and I would watch games with Dad sometimes. Not hey son, let's go watch the game. Not that crap, but it'd be like he'd be watching the game, so I'd be watching the game, right?
Yeah.
And it was I don't remember the exact scenario, but it was like I can't remember if it was like bottom of the ninth or was late in the game, and Jack Clark came up, and I wasn't a Cardinal fan, obviously, but it was like one of those things where that's what was on, and that's what you always back when baseball wasn't on every night. It was a playoffs. It was like a Saturday afternoon or something, so it was pretty cool.
Right.
So you're watching a game, and the Dodgers brought in a reliever. His name was Tom Niedenfeuer. He's a big fat burly dude or whatever, and up comes Jack Clark. And I don't remember if any runners on base, but it was the he comes out and he's taking his warm ups, and Dad said something to the effect is, "Let's watch this fat son of a bitch give up a home run." And like the next pitch, Jack Clark hits a home run to either tie it or go ahead or win. I can't remember exactly. And the thought of the one of those moments where you're just like, wow, like he called that shot,
Yeah.
and it's like, it was so fucking cool just to be in the room for that to happen, and it's like, it's just weird. Like you have those moments in your life that they talk about deja vu, or they talk about that ESP, or those weird things that happen when you just know something's going down and it happens. And it's so cool. But
Yeah.
and then it was every Saturday, but it was like she would clean the house Saturday mornings. And if you remember the KTEL, it's what the now that's what I call music. Those little
Oh,
CDs
yeah.
that came out.
Yeah.
So this was like in the '70s, late '70s and '80s. It was like KTEL hits, country gold, and it was
Okay.
like blah, blah whatever. And she would always put on some. It would be a record, and it would be like the country hits of the '80s or '70s or whatever. And it would be all these songs that every song if it was whatever. And she'd be going around cleaning the house and singing them or whatever. And that's one of those core memories that might, if you take them both, might explain the love that I have for baseball and music. It's like one of those things that it's just like, you can't, they seem little and they seem, minute, but it's something that just kind of shapes you as much as getting popped in the mouth might. You know what I mean? It's like it's just one of those things. These are the good core memories that I have, and they're not. You know what? I bet Dad wouldn't remember, and I bet it was something that Mom never thought about. It's
Yeah.
just like one of those things that you never forget.
I catch myself. I was talking to somebody the other day, like I'm 46 and I'm probably doing things you think about that. I'm doing things I probably should have been doing at 36. But that being said, I also wasn't even equipped to being a dad. I mean, I was a dad at 36 and it was obvious I was not ready. So I think now I'm more aware of those moments. I sometimes like I take pictures all the time because mom, I was never in any pictures because I was the third kid. Like you just didn't have time to take, and then you had to still get the film developed. I mean,
Right.
no one. I mean, no one. They took pictures. There probably is rolls and rolls of film somewhere because mom was always taking pictures. But I don't think she just got around to getting it or couldn't afford to get them developed. Didn't get them developed. Who knows? But the running joke is, well, I'm gonna get a picture. And the boys now are old enough, they're like, no more pictures, bro. So I'm always trying to capture those moments versus I'm like, Travis, just be in the moment, right? So that's
But no,
something that
it no, because look, when you go back and look at all the pictures of us as kids, you've seen those pictures 100 times. Like you've seen the slideshows, you've
yeah.
seen every one of this is us in Hawaii, this is us in Texas, this is us in this house, this is us in that house. But they're the same pictures where like I could go on my phone right now, I could find 500 pictures that I probably need to delete, but it's just like there's pictures that I'll get in that mood where, especially if I've been working a lot and I'm by myself a lot, I'll just send out random pictures. This is a picture of Nolan when he was this age, or this
Yeah.
is a
Oh,
picture of
right.
this age, and whether they like them or don't like them, I don't really care because I have them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
they're for me anyway.
I on I even gone to as far as they used to all be on a Facebook page, like on my Facebook page, but then something happened where I got hacked and they shut my Facebook page down. So I lost all these pictures I had of moms. And then when they cleaned out their house, I got a box of those pictures. That's why I sent you that,
Okay.
the St. Louis car and all that other,
Yeah.
whatever. There was a bunch of pictures in there. They're the all actual pictures that I had saved on my phone, most of them. And so I
Okay.
just sent a separate file on my phone to the cloud or whatever. That way I at least would have, if I lose my phone, at least I could be able to retrieve them. So, and whether I look at them or I don't look at them is not the point.
Yeah.
So it's weird though, because like when Grandma B died, right before she passed away, I went to visit her, and she had no idea who I was or whatever. I mean, she did by looking at me. She was like, it was weird because you could see her personality there.
Yeah.
She was like, "Who are you again? Joel Edward." She was like, "You're not Joel Edward. You're old."
Yeah.
It's just like, "No, Grandma, I'm old or whatever." I said, "You mind if I sit here and talk to you for a while?" She's like, "No, I don't care." And there was some other guy just walking around behind her, and she's like, and I mean, she don't weigh 80 pounds at the
Right.
time. She's
Right.
sitting in a chair she's laying in a chair when I walk up like a little cat. I mean, I could have like shoved her in
Right.
my bag and left if I. And anyway, she sits up and she's just like, it's the same. We had the same conversation for an hour of, multiple questions or whatever. And some guy was walking behind, and she looks over her shoulder and she looks at me. She goes, "What's up with this guy back here?" I'm just like, I don't know. You could totally see her personality. She didn't know who the fuck I was, but she was
Yeah.
like, you could totally see her personality. Like, what is this guy doing back here? And then there was, and I hate to be giggling and laughing about it, but there was a lady that was sitting in a chair, and the TV was on, but she was facing away from the television, and she looks right at me. She goes, "What do you think she's watching?" I'm like, "I don't know, Grandma." And she was like, "Who are you again?" But anyway, I start going through my phone, and I have all these old pictures of like Dad when he was little, and like him and Rudy and Hubert and a bunch of people I don't even know. And I show her the pictures, and she was like, "Oh," and then she starts naming off all these. It's probably pretty cliche with people that had dementia or whatever, but
Yeah.
she starts naming off all the pictures. And then she'd look at me and be like, "Who are you again?" And I tell her, and then she was like, "Oh, Joel Edward." "Oh no, you're too old. You're too
Yeah.
fat or whatever."
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
well, that happens, Grandma,
I
whatever.
my confidence is a little shaky as it is, Grandma.
You're you're breaking my heart, but that's fine.
That's fine.
The sad part to me was it's just like, man, I don't know if I can come back here after this.
I
Just like,
know.
and I gave her right before I left. I go, "Do you care if I give you a hug?" And she's like, "No, give me a hug." And when I hugged her, I asked her, "Do you know who I am?" And she said my name, and it was just like, it was in there. It was in there.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things.
I'm glad
That
you
was
brought her
the
up because I was kicking myself for not going to see her, but I called over there and I had a friend of mine worked over there, and I sent her some pictures of me. It was on my of me, mom, and her from me and Janelle's wedding reception, and then a couple pictures of me, her, and like just stuff I found through those books and basketball pictures, right? So she, the girl, reached out to me, took a picture with Grandma and sent it to me, and she said those little pictures, she remembers, she knows exactly who you are in those pictures. So it was pretty cool I had a kind of a surrogate proxy there talking to her for me, and she's like, she knows you Joel, Mike, and Travis, she knows. So, but I think going back to your point of growing up in those in quote unquote small towns, like, because we naturally, I know at least I did, was, you'd naturally have something in common with other people from small towns, right? So whether it's Knoxville or Watauga or wherever, where we live in central Illinois. But I mean, I've met guys, I've met one of my good friends now, is a dad of another kid, and he's from a small town in Nebraska, and it's similar. It's same but different, right? It's similar upbringing with school and similar upbringing with sports, very similar. And he's more on the religious, he was from that area. He went to the religious side of things. So it's always something, I think, for us, you know, if we had the opportunity to go to church, but it really wasn't, Aunt Sharon made sure we went when she could make sure we went. But once we got old enough, it was like, she's like, "I'm just going to pray for you boys." And thank God she did. So, but yeah, about the celebrating and I think there's a lot to that of just, it's part of your identity. as a kid growing up, good or bad, whatever it is you do, because you and I both know people that live, let's say, in worse circumstances and turned out with no, they have their own issues. That's a fact, but also they either went down the path of I'm never gonna live like that, right? Like I seen that, not gonna happen.
I'm glad you brought that. Okay, so I've came up with a couple questions here for you.
All right, okay.
So, how did the culture of where we grew up, where heavy substance abuse is often a badge of honor, affect the way you viewed asking for help? And maybe not necessarily, maybe the terminology heavy substance abuse, but where a situation is the normalcy is being the drinker and the non-drinker is not being normal.
Yeah,
how did that affect you when you decided that you needed help? How did that affect you when asking?
I was scared to death. Because I thought I was in this frame of mind that all of my friends were gonna be gone, not realizing I was friends with 95% of the people before we started drinking. So I was warped. I was like, I can't be friends with him, and him, uh, or her, whatever, because I associate that with drinking. And it was like, that's another false belief. And I think too, that was the major hang up of I don't need help. I got this under control. I can fix this. Or I'm not that bad. I mean, so and so gets drunker than I do. Oh, wait. They might, but they also take care of their shit too. Like you're getting drunk and just nothing until you get drunk again. The only time you're productive is when you're drinking for about 2 hours. There's a difference, So when I asked for help and got help, and part of my story is there's way more stuff that I needed help with balancing, right? But yeah, asking for help was scary just because, like you said, the badge of honor was played sports, you won them, you were good at, and then you went to the bar and you celebrated. I mean,
I mean,
so
we got ours. Think about the league we played in Farmington. We didn't lose a game for 3 years.
right.
We had
They
the
would go to halls and
The only
drink a keg
game
of beer.
we almost lost. The only game we almost lost, we drank before the game and got down 20 at the half, and then came back and won the game. It's almost like we had to handicap ourselves to get to the point where we almost lost. That wasn't just you and me either. There was a other handful of people involved in that. So
Well,
that's what I
that's
kind of say is,
yeah. I had to reach out to some of my closer friends, my closer knit of guys that we always drank with. I was like, listen, dude, and they were afraid to ask me to do anything, right? Because they didn't want to be the one to be like, I put him over the edge because he came over or I met up with him. I was like, dude, I'm 44 years old. I was like, you do know if I want to go get hammered, I could do that. And they're like, yeah, but they don't
I'm,
know either, right?
yeah, I'm glad you said that, because one of the things I still deal with, now, is if I'm with someone, especially if I go golfing or whatever, and they're drinking and hey, you want a beer? And I'm just like, nah, I don't drink. And they're like, oh, sorry, sorry, sorry. It's like, that's not don't
Yeah.
let me, I know you drink. I'm with you. Don't let me stop you from doing your thing because I'm with you. It's like, I know this isn't hard to get. I know it. I know where I can get it. So
Yeah.
this is all my issue, and I'm good with whatever. What I mean? I don't. Your drinking affects me 0%. So
Well,
don't let me make you uncomfortable.
something I want to put out there for somebody, because that's the huge thing for, I think, both of us. We were both very social until we weren't. You were still pretty social, even when you were working that damn swing shift, having kids. You were still social. Like you were around a lot. I mean, playing basketball when you could, and even with kids. And for the friends of people like us, I want to say, like, I look at what really helped me put things in perspective is alcohol to me is, like, I think you and I talked about this. I don't know if we recorded it or not, but of how it is an allergy to us. Now, whether we were born with it, whether we have acquired it, but that's to be debated till the end of time. Don't really care. The thing is like, just like an allergy, if I'm allergic to peanut and you offer me peanuts and I just say no, they make my throat swell up and I could die, you'd be like, "Cool, bro, I'm done with that," right? You don't get no peanut, like, you don't get no nut, right? So, I'll be aware of that. Or if I'm
You don't
allergic
get
to
these.
fish, you don't get to eat that. So that's the way I've tried to, like, that's exactly how I explained it to my at the time, he was 8 years old, and I never knew how I was gonna answer it. He was like, "Dad, you ever had any beers before?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah. I've had a lot of beers. I've had a lot of them." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, you're dead." It took me a long time to figure out I'm allergic to what's in beer. And he's like, and then on his level, he understood it because his buddy just got stung by a bee. So when you reframe it like, listen, dude, that really helped me understand that this is a disease, and whether you believe it is self-induced or genetic or whatever all it is, whatever it is you believe, that's your beliefs, not you per se. I'm saying you as in the general
Right.
public, but I think friends, they just don't know what they don't know. It's like one of my best friends, he had a hard time. We've been friends since kindergarten. I was like, dude, we were friends 10 years before we had a drink together. Oh, all of my core memories are with you. And so that took me and him, took me first to realize that. And then I had to explain it to him. And he's like, "Ah, I'm glad you said that. You're right. Like I forgot. You just forget sometimes because you get caught up
Right.
in
And
your own life."
if you think about the way they explain it, if you go into any of the programs, is that a lot of for this to work, you've got to cut off people and you've got to get away from those situations. And to me, that doesn't mean forever for sure, but it definitely means until you get a grip, right? I mean, like, and not everybody can get a grip. I've dealt with on a level of family as well, right? Like when
Yep.
I got sober, one of the things that I kind of got butthurt was about was when you got married or you had a bachelor party, you know. And granted, I wasn't sober that long, but it was like I kind of
Yeah.
felt left out because it was one of those things where like what the fuck, bro? You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
and whether it was we don't want that wet fucking blanket around or we don't want to put him in that situation, it didn't really matter. I understand why I wasn't going to probably go anyway because of that.
An
But it was one of
invite
those
would have been
things that,
nice. Yeah.
like I'm not mad about it. I don't hold grudges about it. It's just one of those things, It's like,
I
I don't
do.
know.
Yeah. Looking back on it now, I understand it obviously more now than I did at the time, which was a decade ago. And it's like, I don't want to put him in the situation of, that's the way I thought, right? Like, oh my God, if we put, if he comes and go bowling with us in the Quad Cities, he's going to get shit faced. I was like, oh, now I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever thought of, right? Uh, Yeah.
And which probably would have just been like, nah, have a good time. I'll see,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like, it, what are you going to do?
Yeah. I agree.
So that puts on so this the other question I had is what has been the hardest part about staying sober while still being connected to the people that still have those traditions that revolve around alcohol? If you need me to repeat that, I will.
No, I got it. I got it.
Because I know what I dealt with, and I know, and it's here. Let me ask you a question, and let me answer it the way I want it to be. When I got sober, stopped getting invited to a lot of shit. I always invited myself to a lot of shit because I work swing shift, and everybody eventually just stops. We don't know when he's fucking working. If he's not working, he's gonna come
Right.
and he'll figure it out. So when I stopped getting invites, and not just for people from where, not just our friends, but people that I knew around here as well.
Yeah.
So and so having a party 3 doors down, and I know them, and we've been there before, but they don't call no more because they don't, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it's something that you have to be willing to deal with if you're going to get sober. It's maybe if it's not forever, maybe it's forever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what was
They're
going on.
not
I'm
doing
saying
much
as in the next,
else.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So eventually you got to find new ways, new people. But a lot of times, if it's something that's been with you forever, you end up back with those same people and you find a way to coexist. Sorry. Please answer the question, sir. What
No.
was the hard part about staying sober while still being connected to the people who still celebrate those same traditions that you stepped away from?
Now, for my situation, a lot of times my friends, I was the one putting together the event so I could drink. So I was the one like, hey, let's do this, right? In my friend group, or like, let's go here. But that being said, I just was thinking about this because I was like, what's the number, right? Is it 3 years? I was like, for me, it was right around 3 years because I just didn't trust myself. I went to a couple things and I was just like, I was anxious the whole time leading up to it. And then I would either back out or I'd go and I was like, just not for me. It wasn't the people, it was just the environment, right? So I initially I was lonely and I had to, and I say this now, I think us as men in general, as we get older, lose touch with our friends anyway, and this didn't help. Mm, because I'm always one to try to like, hey, keep I'll send a text, or and I think you do too, especially now that I'm more clear-headed. I would used to do it while I was drunk, but now I meant it. The thought was there, but now I can actually have a conversation and remember what the fuck we're talking about and how old your kids are and what you're up to. The initial part was just loneliness and like, what am I going to do with all this time? Like, you can make new friends if you have to, or because you don't want to be isolated, because that son of a bitch, I did that too. I isolated and said, you know what? It's winter and I'm just going to watch my ID. If you're out there, we're down for a documentary. I would watch these shows and like, because I was just almost like in my own little nest and I knew I was safe and I wasn't going to get drunk, but I had to eventually start putting myself out there because I was going crazy really. So this year I quit golfing for 3 years. And I really have gotten back to getting excited to play golf because I got some fun things around that. But yeah, I really like how you said it's sometimes it feels like you're gonna not have those friends, your lifelong friends forever. And if you don't have those friends anymore, then they weren't really your friends to begin with, is my opinion. And I know I could pick up a phone and text any one of my friends I've known for my entire life. The ones that I got drunk with too. Drunk, they moved heaven and earth to try to help me out. And I think that's my situation too, is just realizing that the friendship was the underlying factor. Now there's other people that the booze was the friendship, but there's a lot of people that I genuinely get along with and like, and but it's been a learning process for sure. Long-winded answer, another one. So
It's funny because like one of the things that helped me really get to the point where I'm at was like I was always okay with being around people that were drinking. Like not okay, but like it was more annoying than anything else. But then when I started playing music in bars, right? It was one of those things where, you're basically playing, like with a duo with one guitar and two people singing, and you're basically your background music. And when you're playing you start at 7 and you're doing a 4-hour show or whatever, and it's the first hour, nobody's even paying attention to you. There's maybe a dozen people in there, start filing in, and then hour goes by and people are talking and they're not still really kind of listening, and then there is a literal line of when
right.
people just go fucking tipsy to shit faced, and it is 10 minutes. It
Yeah,
is everybody's talking and it gets louder and then louder, and then within 10 minutes the whole fucking place is shit faced singing along to fucking songs and shit, and you're like,
it's great.
my god, this is the progression, right? You're like, holy, that was literally 20 minutes ago. You could have, heard a pin drop in here. And now it's just like,
Yeah,
good God. It's so, you know, I'm sure there's a study somewhere on,
progressive.
camaraderie humans,
Right.
and nobody talks to each other unless they've been greased up a little bit for
Gotta
sure.
have a social lubricant, which it does. Like we
And
said, going back to that, it's a great drug for to boom. Anxiety's gone.
look at even and I'd like to maybe put a pin in this specifically for later, but like just as someone who, if you're looking to take a vacation or if you're looking to go do something out, just with other people, and society is geared around alcohol or whatever, you got,
Yeah.
all inclusive resorts, and you're either your vacation is either geared towards family or it's geared towards drinking or
Yep.
it's both. There's no, it just seems like this is what stopped me a couple times from going on vacation is like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. It's like, am I going to go to Costa Rica for an all inclusive and just eat shrimp or what? I mean, what, you know what I mean? Like, there's only so much you can do. And granted, there are other things you can do, but I'm saying everything is geared around that. And when you can find an avenue, that's been the thing about when me getting older and thinking about retirement is like, you got to have a plan to retire to. You can't just retire. I saw a guy the day he retired at Hy-Vee, and he's walking out with his wife, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and you never saw a more miserable fucker you've ever seen in your life walking out of his. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, how's it going? I said, he's like, yeah, they took away my computer access and everything, and I'm just like, why the fuck you need that? You don't work here anymore. So it's like, right. So here's this identity that you've had for 30 years. It's taken away, and you're at the freaking grocery store with your wife at 11 o'clock in the morning, and you're regretting retiring now.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
it's like the fact that this guy regretted retirement. He's right. I go, dude. I said, don't ever say that out loud again. I said, you have buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Think about all the fuckers that still got to show up to this fucking place every day. You'll get your feet on the ground and you'll be fine. My point is,
Find
you
some.
gotta have a plan, man. And to have something to do, like after you're done working, or say you're going on vacation, or to have an avenue for fun without alcohol, it's a challenge because everything is geared and steered either towards the little kids or to
Yeah. Bro, to wrap this up on my end is my advice would be whatever you're doing now while you're drinking. So if you're out in your garage tinkering with shit on your bikes, or you're um, working on your car, or whatever, if you're fishing or hunting, um, I don't know. You think of it while what you can do while you're drinking. I would challenge you to do that while you're sober, because it's down in there. Like, I stopped playing guitar because in my mind, I'm like, well, why would I play guitar? I can't play out at bars, right? Because I'm drunk, and uh, you know how it is. Like, you picked up the guitar when you're the learning curve. Like, we were only learning guitar when we was drinking. We made it a sport. While we were doing it, and luckily, the guy I played with had great musical ability to be like, yo, bro, that's not even close. Like, we gotta, that's this. So he helped bring me along in that retrospect. So it's been a lot of fun, but yeah, my advice off of this episode, I'm doing this with my own life too. And I think you are as well. Like, you picking up golf, that's a huge thing. I never knew, or you got to find something to do, because you're going to have time to do it.
sure.
I'm hot
It's just if
tonight.
they all go
Uh,
forward, doesn't mean it.
or
That's why I told you, if you want to get back, find a couple guys that don't drink. If you get a good group that don't
yeah,
drink, and then if a guy comes that does drink, it's not a big deal. You can do the same shit talk, you can do the same nonsense that you did. And to me, I never really
yeah.
got into
I
golf while I
actually
was drinking, so
reaching out to a buddy's
it's a
dad who's
non-factor for me.
retired, who, he's 80 years old. He's like, well, hell yes, I'd play, and I love him. He's a hell of a nice guy. And he's always just like, what the hell's going on? But yeah, so find something that you love to do, or even like to do just a little bit. And I guarantee you, because if you're drinking too much, you have it, that competitiveness is in you.
Well, I think that's going to do it for
Episode what?
Lewis Brothers 309 podcast for
Yeah,
today.
sorry I interrupted you there.
Like I said,
Episode
I'm Joel, and this is
4 for my 4-year
go ahead.
anniversary. That's pretty cool.
Episode 4. Hey, how'd that work? And that's a coincidence in 'em. I hope you made it to the end. I hope, you might have learned something. I hope you laughed a little bit, and if,
Yeah, love
I
it.
don't know, as long as
We'll see
we got stuff to talk about, we're gonna try to keep
see
doing
you
this
next week.
thing.